This is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.
In the headlines, death penalty returns to D.C. U.S. President Donald Trump signs a directing restoring capital punishment as his administration tackles violent crime in Washington. James Comey indicted. The ex-FBI director is facing 2 counts related to his 2020 Senate testimony about the Trump-Russia investigation. Africa calls for a seat at the world table. Congo's president urges reforms at the United Nations, pushing for Africa's full participation in global decision-making. Deadly escalation in the Middle East. Israeli warplanes strike Yemen's capital Sana'a just days after a Houthi drone hit the southern city of Eilat. India's missile milestone. New Delhi successfully tests its Agni-Prime missile form, a rail-based mobile platform. Violence on the streets of Buenos Aires. Clashes erupt as pensioners, workers, and students take a stand against austerity. The protests that turn into chaos. China's space breakthrough. Shenzhou 20 crew makes history with its 4th Tiangong spacewalk, a first for the new generation of astronauts. And in the world of sports, Lakers' future in the hands of LeBron James. Los Angeles extends Coach J.J. Redick's contract, while the NBA star contemplates his own future with the team. I'm Carlo Dela Peña. Newsline World starts now. The Metropolitan Manila Development Authority is assuring the public that contingency measures are in place as the region braces for the possible impact of Typhoon Opong, internationally known as Bulaloy. Jason Rubrico reports.
Are we expecting na may mga tao?
The Metro Manila Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council has finalized its contingency plans as Typhoon Opong threatens to bring heavy rains and strong winds to the capital region. This comes after President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. ordered all agencies to strengthen relief operations, mobilize resources, and ensure a swift government response.
I can say na handa po na po tayo. Talaga pre-disaster, during disaster, and after disaster po. Dito po, insofar as NCR is concerned, I am confident po na sabihin na tayo po ay nakahanda.
According to Chairman Don Artes, more than 300 Metropolitan Manila Development Authority or MMDA personnel are on standby. Ambulances, tow trucks, and military trucks have already been prepositioned across the metro, with all 71 pumping stations are fully operational. Artes is also urging residents to stay indoors and avoid non-essential travel on Friday and over the weekend due to expected severe weather conditions.
Kung hindi naman po talaga importante ang inyong dahilan sa paglabas, ay baka pwede pong i-postpone muna.
Metro Manila is currently under tropical cyclone wind signal number 2. The MMDA will continue to monitor weather and traffic conditions from its communications and command center in Pasig City, with special attention to flood-prone areas in Quezon City and Caloocan, Malabon, Navotas, Valenzuela, or the Cabanava area. Authorities are reminding the public to remain vigilant and follow advisories as Typhoon Opong moves closer to the region. Reporting for Newsline World, this is Jason Rubrico, SM9 News.
The government's crackdown on so-called ghost projects takes center stage in Davao Occidental. Independent Commission for Infrastructure Special Advisor and Baguio City Mayor Benjamin Magalong has declared a 96.5 million pesos revetment project in the town of San Jose Abad Santos a crime scene. The project was supposed to have been completed and paid for back in 2022. Records show the contract went to St. Timothy Construction Corporation, owned by the Discaya family. But on the ground, Residents and even the barangay captain says work only started just 2 or 3 weeks ago. Because of this, Magalong wasted no time calling it a ghost project. Construction has now been halted pending further investigation. Public Works Secretary Vince Dizon also joined Magalong in inspecting the controversial site as a probe into questionable infrastructure spending widens. United States President Donald Trump has signed a new directive reinstating the death penalty in the nation's capital. The administration says it's part of a push to keep Washington, D.C. safe from violent crime. Valdivina Gracia has the details.
To ensure that Washington, D.C.
The president unveiled the order at the White House, calling the death penalty one of the strongest tools against violent crime.
One of the most powerful deterrents we have to violent crime is the death penalty. This is a presidential memorandum that directs your Attorney General and your U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, Judge Janine Pirro, to fully implement the death penalty here in Washington, D.C., where the evidence and facts of a case indicate that the death penalty should be used.
President Trump underscored that anyone convicted of killing civilians or law enforcement officers in the Capitol will face the ultimate punishment.
Okay, everybody understand? Death penalty in Washington. You kill somebody, or if you kill a police officer, law enforcement officer, death penalty. And hopefully there won't be that.
Trump also pointed to what he described as a dramatic turnaround in public safety, claiming Washington has shifted from one of the most dangerous cities in America to one of the safest in a matter of weeks.
This went from the most unsafe city in the country to the safest city in the country. There's no city any safer. That's a pretty big achievement.
Attorney General Pam Bondi confirmed the policy won't stop at the Capitol. It's set to expand nationwide.
Not only are we seeking it in Washington, D.C., but all over the country. Again, we are now moving the inmates who were on death row, who Joe Biden or the auto pen commuted their sentences off of death row. We're moving them to supermax facilities where they will be treated like they're on death row for the rest of their lives.
The White House insists capital punishment will act as a deterrent, but critics are expected to mount legal and political challenges in the weeks ahead. For now, the memorandum takes immediate effect, with the administration vowing that Washington, D.C. will remain, in the president's words, a very, very safe city. Reporting for Newsline World, this is Valdivina Gracia, SMNA News.
A major development for millions of TikTok users in the United States. President Donald Trump has signed an executive order that he says will secure the popular app's future in the country, while also protecting Americans' data. Justin Nazario has the story.
The White House says the deal will save TikTok for its 170 million American users. An executive order signed by President Trump directs United States officials to ensure the platform operates safely under American ownership and oversight.
We have an executive order on TikTok. With this executive order, you will be effectively bringing into effect the agreement that will save TikTok and ensure that it can operate safely and securely.
President Trump said the agreement came after talks with Chinese leader Xi Jinping, clearing the way for American investors and companies to take control.
We talked about TikTok and other things, but we talked about TikTok, and he gave us the go-ahead. You know, it's run by American investors and American companies. Great ones, great investors, the biggest.
Vice President J.D. Vance, who led the negotiations, emphasized that the deal protects both TikTok's future and user data.
But the fundamental thing that we wanted to accomplish is that we wanted to keep TikTok operating, but we also wanted to make sure that we protected Americans' data privacy as required by law, both because it's the right thing to do, but also because it's a legal requirement of the law that was passed last year by Congress. So we think that we were able to do that. Of course, we're going to keep on working at it, but this deal really does mean that Americans can use TikTok, but actually use it with more confidence.
The arrangement will see major U.S. investors, including Oracle, take on a key role in handling TikTok's data, a move officials say will strengthen national security. While some critics have raised questions about the app's algorithm and possible influence, the White House insists the platform will now be fully under American control.
This is going to be American operated. all the way.
The app's valuation is pegged at around $14 billion. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says the deal was made possible by months of talks and by Trump's direct engagement with China's president. For now, the administration is calling it a win for both digital security and the millions of young Americans who push to keep the app alive. The deal takes immediate effect, though officials say oversight will continue to ensure TikTok complies with U.S. law and security requirements. This is Justina Zario, citizen correspondent, reporting for Newsline World.
Coming up, Africa calls for a seat at the world table. Congo's president urges reforms at the United Nations, pushing for Africa's full participation in global decision-making. And violence on the streets of Buenos Aires. Clashes erupt as pensioners, workers, and students take a stand against austerity. The protests that turn into chaos. More news when Newsline World returns.
In 2005, Pastor Apollo C. Kibuloy founded the Sunshine Philippines movement. A mission rooted in love for nature and nation. It began as an environmental and humanitarian initiative to reforest Mount Apo. Once barren, now a thriving and beautiful place. Through his initiative, thousands of trees have been planted across the Philippines, bringing life and hope to communities. His advocacy, One Tree, One Nation, is also a movement that calls for unity in preserving the environment. Because every tree planted is a step towards unity, healing, and a greater future. Join One Tree, One Nation.
The President of the Democratic Republic of Congo has called for reforms at the United Nations, urging Africa's full participation in global decision-making during his address at the UN General Assembly in New York. This report from Jillian Gutierrez.
Speaking before world leaders on Wednesday, President Denis Sassou Nguesso said Africa must no longer be marginalized, stressing that the continent is home to over 1.4 billion people with vast potential. He warned that the multilateralism, the foundation of the United Nations, is under threat from national selfishness and unilateral policies, which prevent the world from effectively responding to global challenges.
L'une des grandes réussites des Nations Unies a indubitablement, indéniablement été d'établir une plateforme solide de coopération entre les nations. Mais aujourd'hui, ce multilatéralisme est menacé par des égoïsmes nationaux et par des politiques unilatérales. Source de crise diplomatique préjudiciable, cette tendance doit être inversée parce que les défis mondiaux que nous affrontons, notamment le changement climatique, les pandémies et l'insécurité alimentaire, nécessitent une réponse mondiale solidaire, cohérente et concertée.
Nguesso said the United Nations must be restructured, starting with its most powerful body, the Security Council, which he argued no longer reflects today's geopolitical realities.
La République du Congo croit fermement qu'une organisation des Nations Unies plus forte et plus efficace est la condition indispensable pour préserver la paix et garantir le développement durable. C'est pourquoi nous en appelons à une réforme de ces organes, à commencer par son Conseil de sécurité, afin de les rendre plus représentatifs, plus transparents et plus proches des réalités de notre monde. On le voit bien, le Conseil de sécurité, dans sa composition actuelle, ne reflète plus les équilibres géopolitiques de notre monde. Il est donc urgent de le réformer, non pas en théorie, mais en pratique.
The Congolese president emphasized Africa's demand for permanent representation at the Security Council.
L'Afrique ne peut plus rester marginalisée. C'est un continent de plus d'1,4 milliard d'habitants. C'est un continent d'avenir, de jeunesse, de potentiel, auquel nous devons aujourd'hui garantir une participation pleine et entière aux décisions mondiales. Je le dis avec force, l'Afrique mérite une représentation permanente au sein du Conseil de sécurité des Nations Unies, pas en tant que bénéficiaire d'une faveur, mais en tant que partenaire légitime. C'est l'appel solennel que la République du Congo lance du haut de cette tribune.
He added that the world must push for a new, more effective multilateralism that delivers real solutions to global issues.
Il nous faut inventer un multilatéralisme plus intelligent, plus efficace, plus proche des aspirations des peuples, plus représentatif des réalités du XXIe siècle. Ce multilatéralisme doit aussi se traduire en actes concrets, en résultats tangibles, en solutions durables. Les peuples du monde ne nous jugeront pas sur nos discours, mais sur ce que nous aurons su accomplir ensemble.
The 80th United Nations General Assembly opened on September 23 and runs until September 29 under the theme Better Together, 80 years and more for peace, development and human rights. Jillian Gutierrez, your citizen correspondent, reporting for Newsline World.
Clashes broke out in Argentina's capital as thousands of retirees, workers, and students rallied outside the National Congress demanding higher reforms, access to medicines, and improved healthcare. More on these from Jane Cognita.
In Buenos Aires, protesters are seen shouting at riot police who blocked their path with shields. Officers deployed tear gas to disperse the crowd, with some demonstrators washing their faces with milk to relieve the effects. Medics were seen attending to injured elderly protesters. The march was led by pensioners groups and unions, who are calling for a minimum monthly pension of 1.25 million pesos. Argentine President Javier Milei's austerity plan has triggered widespread criticism, even as his government points to recent signs of economic recovery.
Hoy fue tremendo, porque vinieron directamente a golpear. Lo golpearon al muchacho acá que tenía al lado, fue uno de los más agredidos. Y después tenemos los compañeros ahí que están graciosos, que tenés 3 personas que están, a uno le pegaron un garrotazo en la cabeza, a la otra señora le tiraron gas.
Sin la violencia en la calle ellos no pueden implementar este plan de ajuste, ni de saqueo, porque lo que están haciendo es saqueando y rifando el futuro, tomando deuda impagable.
Despite the unrest, official data show Argentina's economy expanding in 2025, with the government maintaining that tough measures are essential to restore long-term stability. This has been Jane Cognita, your citizen correspondent, reporting for Newsline World.
Ecuador is grappling with a national debate as President Daniel Noboa pushes a referendum to lift the ban on foreign military bases, a move that supporters claim will bolster the fight against drug trafficking, while critics warn it threatens national sovereignty. The proposal comes amid a surge in violence that has turned Ecuador into one of the most dangerous countries in Latin America, with homicide rates soaring from 6 per 100,000 in 2018 to over 45 in 2023. Security experts remain skeptical, saying bases alone will not curb organized crime. The opposition points to Colombia, where foreign military presence has failed to reduce drug trafficking or violence. The referendum, organized by the National Electoral Council, will allow Ecuadorians to decide on the issue in the coming weeks.
Colombia tiene 7 bases militares. Y la pregunta es, ¿en Colombia se ha disminuido la delincuencia? ¿Se ha disminuido la criminalidad? ¿Por esas bases militares hay menos producción de droga en Colombia? La respuesta es no.
The outcome of the referendum is set to shape Ecuador's security strategy and foreign relations, testing the balance between combating organized crime and preserving the nation's sovereignty. China strongly denounced the visit of Taiwan's foreign minister to New York during the United Nations General Assembly, calling it a violation of the One China principle. Almar Forzuelo tells us more.
At a regular press conference in Beijing on Thursday, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Gu Jiakun said the United States allowing Taiwanese Foreign Minister Lin Xiaolung's trip was a gross interference in China's internal affairs and a breach of the 3 Sino-US joint communiques.
美方允许林佳龙在联合国大会期间窜访纽约，为台独分裂势力谋独挑衅提供哗众取宠的表演舞台。 是对中国内政的粗暴干涉，对一个中国原则和中美3个联合公报规定的严重破坏，向台独分裂势力发出严重错误信号，中方对此表示强烈不满和坚决反对。
Gu warned Taiwan's Democratic Progressive Party authorities and what he described as diehard independence elements that any provocation would only lead to their downfall.
我们正告民进党当局和台独顽固分子，多行不义必自毙，任何谋独挑衅都是搬起石头砸自己的脚。我们也奉劝台湾所剩无几的所谓邦交国，不要反复被台独分裂势力操纵利用，应该认清一个中国原则是大势所趋，人心所向。 同台独势力绑在一起，没有任何前途。
The top Taiwanese diplomat's visit coincided with the week of the United Nations General Assembly 2025 in New York. Ahead of the trip, Lin called on the world body to recognize Taiwan in an opinion piece published by U.S. outlet Newsmax. Gu also commented on a report by South Korea claiming North Korea possesses 2 tons of highly enriched uranium. He urged all sides to remain calm, seek a political solution, and work to maintain regional peace. South Korea's Minister of Unification, Chung Dong-young, said the alleged uranium stockpile would be enough to produce an enormous number of nuclear weapons and stressed the need to urgently halt Pyongyang's nuclear program. North Korea has not issued a response.
The escalation in the Middle East. Israeli warplanes strike Yemen's capital, Sana'a, just days after a Houthi drone hit the southern city of Eilat. And India's missile milestone. New Delhi successfully tests its Agni-Prime missile from a rail-based mobile platform. Stay tuned for more news.
Isang pindot lang, pwede kang maka-jackpot. Mukhang masaya at easy money lang. Sa murang halaga, pwede ka na tumaya sa online gambling at e-casino apps. Mayroong sabong, slot machines, mahjong, poker at iba pa. Kailangan mo lang ng smartphone, e-wallet at internet. Pero ang aliw na ito, unti-unting nagiging bitag para sa mga Pilipino. Lalo na kung ang paborito mong artista o influencer ang mukha ng app. Mas madaling makaengganyo, diba? Parang safe naman kasi may kilalang mukha. Pero sa likod ng ngiti, sugal pa rin ang itinutulak. At syempre, mas madali ring itago ang pagkalulong sa bisyong ito. Walang pisikal na kasino o pasugalan, walang kaharap, walang accountability, kaya't mas lumalala ang adiksyon. Dagdag pa rito, maraming online gambling apps at walang regulasyon. Sa likod ng mga makukulay na interface at papremyo, nakatago ang problemang bumabalot ngayon sa bansa. Ang pagkalulong ng maraming Pilipino sa online gambling. Pwede maglaro kahit saan, kahit kailan, kahit sino, bata man o matanda, pwedeng malulong. Ayon sa mga eksperto, ang pagkakalulong sa online gambling ay nagdudulot ng matinding stress at anxiety, pagkakabaon sa utang, pagkawasak ng pamilya, pagkawala ng tiwala sa sarili. At tulad ng ibang bisyo, may mga senyales ito tulad ng hindi makapagpigil kahit walang pera, palihim na tumataya, pagpapabaya sa trabaho, pamilya o sarili. Sa bawat taya, may mga taong tunay na kumikita, mga malalaking negosyante at investors na negosyo ang bisyo ng masa. Para sa kanila, perang pumapasok lang ito. Pero para sa ordinaryong Pilipino, kabuhayan at relasyon ang nauubos. At ang masakit, tila matagal itong nahayaan. Hindi ito naging prioridad ng mga nakaupo sa taas hanggang sa sobrang lumala at halos naapektuhan na ang buong komunidad. Ngayon, sa dami ng nalulong at sa laki ng pinsalang naidulot, sa kapalalong umugong ang mga panukalang batas para higpitan ng online gambling, gaya ng pagbabawal sa paggamit ng e-wallets para tumaya, pagtaas ng minimum bet, mas mahigpit na identity verification, pag-block ng mga illegal na gambling sites, at bawasan o ipagbawal ang mga ads na target ang kabataan. Maaari itong magmukhang laro lang, pero sa katotohanan, isa itong sugal sa kinabukasan. Ang kita na dapat sa mga pangunahing pangangailangan o ipon na uubos sa sugal. At sa mundo ng online gambling, mas madali kang matalo kaysa manalo. Huwag hayaang sugal ang magdikta sa iyong buhay. Isang paalala mula sa SMNI.
And we're back. A dangerous escalation in the Middle East. Israel's warplanes unleashed airstrikes on Yemen's capital just a day after a drone attack struck the southern Israeli city of Eilat. Prince Tripoli will give us the details.
Israel has launched major airstrikes on Yemen's capital Sana'a in retaliation for a drone attack claimed by the Houthis in the Israeli resort city at Eilat. Houthi-run health officials in Sana'a say at least 2 people were killed and 48 others injured in the strikes. The attack began Thursday afternoon, with local media reporting at least 6 bombs dropped within 5 minutes. Israeli media says as many as 15 IDF fighter jets were involved, unleashing more than 60 bombs on the city. The Israeli military confirmed the operation, saying drones of aircraft targeted Houthi headquarters, security and intelligence compounds, and weapons depots. Strikes came just a day after the Houthis claimed responsibility for a drone attack on Eilat that wounded at least 20 people. Israel has been striking Houthi-held areas since last year after repeated missile and drone attacks from Yemen. The Houthi say their actions are in solidarity with Palestinians in Gaza and escalated their attacks after Israel killed senior Houthi officials in Sana'a last month. This is Prince Tripoli, your global citizen correspondent, reporting for Newsline World.
India marked a defense milestone on Thursday with the successful test of its Agni-Prime missile, launched for the first time from a rail-based mobile system. According to Defense Minister Rajnath Singh, the launch proved the nation's advancing strategic capability, which he described on X as a first-of-its-kind achievement. The Agni-Prime is designed as a new generation ballistic weapon capable of hitting targets as far as 2,000 kilometers. The development follows the recent defense agreement between Pakistan and Saudi Arabia, under which an attack on one country would be treated as an aggression against both. The Kremlin is throwing its support behind US President Donald Trump's appeal for a worldwide ban on biological weapons, calling the proposal a brilliant initiative. Franco Baranda reports.
At the United Nations earlier this week, Trump urged world leaders to join the United States in ending the development of biological weapons once and for all. He also linked what he called reckless experiments overseas to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Yet despite that worldwide catastrophe, many countries are continuing extremely risky research into bioweapons and man-made pathogens. This is unbelievably dangerous. To prevent potential disasters, I'm announcing today that my administration will lead an international effort to enforce biological weapons convention, which is going to be meeting with the top leaders of the world by pioneering an AI verification system that everyone can trust.
Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov called Trump's remarks a very important appeal and that Russia is ready to participate in a global process to renounce such weapons, ideally formalized at the international level.
Это очень важный призыв, и такой призыв можно приветствовать. Можно приветствовать, и, разумеется, российская сторона готова участвовать в таком процессе отказа, общего отказа от биологического оружия. И, конечно, его хорошо бы как-то оформить документально, опять же, на международном уровне. Сама по себе инициатива блестящая, и, конечно, ее в Москве поддерживают.
Russia, the US, China, and most of the global community are already members of the Biological Weapons Convention, which bans development, production, acquisition, transfer, stockpiling, use of biological and toxin weapons. But Russia has long accused Ukraine of hosting Western-backed biological laboratories in violation of that treaty, and more recently claimed the US operates dozens of such facilities in Ukraine and Africa as part of an alleged military biological program. Washington and Kiev strongly deny these claims. In 2022, U.S. Undersecretary of State Victoria Nuland acknowledged that Ukraine had biological research facilities, but insisted they were not intended for warfare. Reporting for Newsline World, Franco Baranda, SMNI News.
Chinese astronauts are making history once again. For the first time, members of China's third generation of astronaut recruits have stepped outside the Tiangong space station. This story from Erica Rio.
The China Manned Space Agency says the Shenzhou 20 crew successfully carried out their fourth spacewalk early Friday morning. Astronauts Shen Zhongru and Wang Shi worked outside the station for about 6 hours, installing debris shields and inspecting external equipment, all with support from the robotic arm and mission control back on Earth. This is the first time astronauts from China's newest recruit class took part in a spacewalk, a milestone for the country's growing space program. So far, the Shenzhou 20 crew has performed 4 spacewalks in total, making them among China's most active teams in orbit. They've now spent more than 150 days aboard Tiangong, carrying out experiments and technology tests as part of their 6-month mission. The Shenzhou 20 astronauts entered the station back in April and are expected to return to Earth later this year. This is Erica Rio, your citizen correspondent, reporting for Newsline World.
The Chinatown vibes in Quezon City are about to level up this weekend. For the first time, the Mid-Autumn Moon
Gratitude and family bonding.
This is the second most important for the Chinese after the Chinese New Year. So the mooncake, it's more about gratitude. So ang history na is after the harvest. So they got to for the good harvest, and then they want to offer for a better harvest next season. Then it's an opportunity to family to gather together.
Mayor Joy Belmonte said the Mooncake Festival has long been a private gathering within Filipino-Chinese families. But this year, the city is opening it to the public for the very first time.
And this particular activity is very, very special because usually it is just really celebrated among Filipino-Chinese families. It's very reserved for the families. For the first time, we would like to open the celebration of this festival to all.
Among the festival's highlights, the unveiling of the largest mooncake in the Philippines, a lantern show, dice games, and a bustling bazaar. Chinatown Administrator Joel Distrajo says curiosity and excitement are expected to draw strong crowds despite the limited venue space.
We're expecting about the same, almost the same nung sa Chinese New Year natin, pero a little bit siguro a little smaller in numbers dahil nga medyo mas maliit ang natin ngayon, ang venue natin. Pero as it is nga, we are the first one to celebrate the mooncake as a prominent event na. So yun nga, the curiosity we're expecting that to pull on more citizens to come in.
Mayor Belmonte also underscored the vital role of the Filipino-Chinese business community in the city's progress.
Ay napakaganda, napakalakas ng ating pong partnership with the business community, the private sector. At lalong-lalo na yung Association of Filipino-Chinese Businessmen. No? Our Filipino-Chinese businessmen have played a very big role sa pag-unlad po ng Lungsod Quezon.
The Mooncake Festival is set to bring food, fun, and culture to the heart of QC Chinatown, proving that tradition shines brighter when shared with the community. That's the Mid-Autumn Mooncake Festival in Quezon City this September 28. Reporting for Newsline World, I am Jason Rubrico, SMNI News.
When we come back, Attorney James Comey indicted. The ex-FBI director is facing 2 counts related to his 2020 Senate testimony about the Trump-Russia investigation. And in the world of sports, Lakers' future in the hands of LeBron James. Los Angeles extends Coach J.J. Redick's contract, while the NBA star contemplates his own future with the team. Newsline World will be back after the break.
Maging alerto at handa tuwing may bagyo. Upang manatiling ligtas, narito ang ilang mahahalagang paalala. Manatili sa loob ng bahay. Iwasan ang paglabas, lalo na kung malakas ang ulan at hangin. Mag-imbak ng pagkain at malinis na tubig. Maghanda ng emergency kit. Manatiling updated sa lagay ng panahon. Maghanda ng mga flashlight at extra baterya. Panatilihing fully charged ang iyong cellphone. I-secure ang mahahalagang dokumento sa waterproof na lalagyan. Patayin ang kuryente, gas at tubig kung may banta ng pagbaha. Alamin ang iyong local emergency hotlines. Putulin o tapyasan ang mga sanga ng puno na maaaring mabuwal sa malakas na ulan at hangin. Lumikas agad kung inabisuhan ng mga otoridad. maging ligtas, at maging handa sa panahon ng kalamidad. Ang paalalang ito ay hatid sa inyo ng SMNI.
Sa kabila ng mga mas modernong kaalaman at teknolohiya, nananatiling matindi ang banta ng HIV sa Pilipinas. Pero gaano nga ba kalala ang sitwasyon? Ang HIV o Human Immunodeficiency Virus ay isang sakit na sumisira sa immune system ng katawan. Ngunit tandaan, hindi ito nakukuha sa simpleng pakikisalamuha. Hindi mo agad mararamdaman, pero unti-unti nitong pinapahina ang katawan. At kapag hindi naagapan, humahantong ito sa AIDS, ang huling yugto na impeksyon, kung saan halos wala ng panlaban ng katawan laban sa sakit. Patuloy na dumadami ang kaso ng sakit na ito sa Pilipinas. Isang nakababahalang pagtaas. Umabot na sa 500% ang itinaas ng HIV cases sa mga kabataang edad 15 hanggang 25. Ayon mismo sa Department of Health, 56 na bagong kaso ang naitatala kada araw sa bansa mula Enero hanggang Marso 2025. At ang pinakamatinding apektado, ang kalalakihan at kabataang Pilipino. Dahil dito, ang Pilipinas na ngayon ang may pinakamataas na bilang ng bagong kaso ng HIV sa buong Western Pacific region. Isang indikasyon ng lumulubahang sitwasyon. Kaya nananawagan ng Department of Health gawing opisyal at urgent ang laban sa HIV sa pamamagitan ng isang Public Health Emergency Declaration. Kalalakihan ng pangunahing apektado. 95% ng bagong kaso ay lalaki. Mahigit 1/4 ay kabataang nasa edad 15 hanggang 24. Habang wala pang deklarasyon, patuloy ang DOH sa mga sumusunod na hakbang: HIV testing, libreng gamot, self-test kits, at pakikipagtulungan sa DepEd para sa edukasyon sa mga paaralan. Isinulong rin ng DOH ang online patient appointment system para sa HIV patients. Layunin nitong gawing mas madali at mas personal ang pag-access sa libreng gamutan at konsultasyon ayon sa schedule ng pasyente. Ang HIV ay hindi tulad ng flu. Hindi ito basta naipapasa sa hangin. Ito ay naipapasa sa pamamagitan ng personal na desisyon. Kailangan din nating pagtuunan ng pansin ang ugali, disiplina, at personal na responsibilidad. Isang paalala mula sa SMNI. Madalas ka bang napapasobra sa pag-scroll sa phone mo kahit puro masasamang balita ang nakikita mo? Isipin mo ito. Nakahiga ka na sa kama, nagche-check lang ng phone bago matulog. Tapos, hindi mo na malayan, ilang oras ka na palang nagbabasa at nanonood ng mga balita tungkol sa digmaan, sakuna, politika, at lahat ng masasamang nangyayari sa mundo. Nakakaramdam ka na ng kaba at pagod, pero tuloy mo pa rin ang scroll mo. Ang tawag dyan ay doom scrolling. Ito ang habit ng paulit-ulit na pagtingin sa mga negatibo o nakaka-depress na content tulad ng digmaan, krimen, o problema sa mundo. Nakaka-stress pero hindi mo pa rin mapigilan. Ayon sa isang pag-aaral ng Texas Tech University, ang sobrang konsumo ng masasamang balita ay nauugnay sa pagtaas ng stress, anxiety at pisikal na sintomas gaya ng pagkapagod at sakit ng ulo. Ayon naman sa Harvard Health, ang doom scrolling ay nagpapataas ng fight or flight hormones tulad ng cortisol at adrenaline na nakakapagpabigat ng isip at katawan. Nakakaapekto ito sa iyong mood, tulog at maging sa mental at physical health mo. At kapag naman puro memes at random na content ang pinapanood mo ng sunod-sunod hanggang sa mawalan ka na ng gana na mag-isip at gumawa ng iba pang gawain, ang tawag naman dyan ay brain rot. Sa Gen Z at tinatawag na internet culture, ang brain rot ay overconsumption o sobrang tagal na panonood ng paulit-ulit, mababaw, magulo o walang saysay na content online hanggang sa parang manhid na ang utak mo. Kapag nasobrahan, syempre, nakakasama. Nawawalan ka na ng focus, nawawalan isip at pakikitungo sa iba.
Ang higit sa 4 na oras ng screen time araw-araw sa mga kabataan ay konektado sa 35 to 88% na mas mataas na posibilidad ng depresyon, anxiety at stress. Base ito sa isang malawakang pag-aaral sa Brazil. Kaya, maging balanse. Magpahinga sa screen. Magbasa. Makipagkwentuhan. Magdasal. Maging present lagi. Alagaan ang iyong isipan. Kung anong itinatanim sa isipan mo, yun ang lalago.
Sa panahon ng tagulan, hindi lang baha at ulan ang dapat bantayan, kundi pati na rin ang mga sakit na pwedeng makahawa. At dahil ngayon ay rainy season, nagbabala ang Department of Health laban sa tinatawag na wild diseases. 4 na klase ng sakit na karaniwang nakukuha ng tao tuwing maulan. Ito ang W o waterborne diseases gaya ng pagdudumi o gastroenteritis. I o influenza-like illnesses gaya ng sipon, ubo at lagnat. L o leptospirosis na maaaring makuha mula sa ihi ng mga daga sa baha. At D o dengue na dala ng mga lamok. Kapag baha, mas mabilis kumalat ang mikrobyo, kaya't ugaliin ang paghuhugas ng kamay at agad maligo matapos lumusong sa baha. Ano ang dapat gawin para maiwasan ang wild diseases? Tumutok sa weather updates. Magsuot ng kapote at bota. Siguraduhing malinis ang iniinom na tubig. Agad kumonsulta sa health center kung may nararamdamang sintomas. Mainam din gawin ang 40 o taob, taktak, tuyo at takip para maiwasan ang dengue sa bahay at komunidad. Maglinis, magmasid, mag-ingat. Labanan ang wild diseases ngayong tagulan. Ang paalalang ito ay hatid sa inyo ng SMNI.
Pasasaan pa ang kalayaan kung ang mga alipin ngayon ay sila din naman mang-aalipin bukas.
Ibigin mo ang iyong bayan ng sunod kay Bathala, sa iyong kapurihan at higit sa lahat sa iyong sarili.
Hindi natin mapapalaya ang ating mga sarili maliban kung sumunong tayo na nagkakaisa sa iisang hangarin.
Ang tunay na makabayan ay ang tumutupad ng pagpapabuti ng kanyang mga kapwa, gaano man kaaba ang kanyang katungkulan.
2020 Senate in testimony of the FBI's Trump-Russia investigation. The updates from Hannah Jane Sancho.
Former FBI Director James Comey has been indicted by a grand jury in the Eastern District of Virginia on 2 federal charges, making a false statement and obstruction of justice. Comey's indictment stems from his September 2020 testimony before the Senate Judiciary Committee about the FBI's Crossfire Hurricane investigation into President Trump's 2016 campaign, which the latter has long called a witch hunt. Prosecutors say the ex-FBI chief made multiple false statements during the congressional proceeding, obstructing the investigation to alleged Trump-Russia ties. U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi says Comey's indictment reflects the Department of Justice's commitment to holding those who abuse positions of power accountable for misleading the American people, and that they will follow the facts in this case. Current FBI Director Kash Patel described Comey's indictment as part of a larger politicization of federal law enforcement. Comey led the FBI from 2013 until Trump dismissed him in 2017. The Trump administration launched a probe into the Russiagate investigation earlier this year, led by Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, who had pledged to uncover what she calls a treasonous conspiracy aimed at delegitimizing Trump's 2016 election victory. If found guilty, Comey could face up to 5 years in prison. The ex-FBI chief insists he is innocent.
My heart is broken for the Department of Justice, but I have great confidence in the federal judicial system, and I'm innocent. So let's have a trial and keep the faith. We will not live on our knees, and you shouldn't either. Somebody that I love dearly recently said that fear is the tool of a tyrant, and she's right. But I'm not afraid, and I hope you're not either.
Trump, on the other hand, accused Comey of crimes against America, declaring that his indictment is proof that justice in America was finally being served. To recall, since mid-July, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard released documents suggesting a coordinated effort by senior Obama-era officials, as well as groups linked to billionaire George Soros, to falsely accuse Trump of colluding with Russia. Russia has consistently denied interfering in the 2016 election, calling the accusations a product of partisan politics. The Russiagate scandal, however, greatly stained the relations between Washington and Moscow, resulting in sanctions, asset freezes, and a decline in diplomatic engagement. Meanwhile, Comey is set to be arraigned on October 9 in federal court in Alexandria, Virginia. His case will be overseen by U.S. District Judge Michael Nachmanoff, an appointee of former President Joe Biden. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Hannah Jane Sancho, SMNI News.
Big changes are brewing, or big changes are brewing at Starbucks. The coffee giant has announced a $1 billion reconstructing plan, one that includes job cuts and store closures across North America. Joy Tabanao tells us more.
Starbucks CEO Brian Nichols says about 900 non-retail jobs will be eliminated, and roughly 1% of its stores in the United States and Canada will shut down this fiscal year. The company is facing 6 straight quarters of declining sales despite efforts to turn business around. A company-wide review also revealed that some shops no longer meet physical standards. That's why Starbucks is planning renovations and updates to many of its stores to win back customers. While the chain typically opens and closes locations each year, executives say this round of closures is broader and more significant than usual. By the end of fiscal 2025, Starbucks expects to maintain around 18,300 stores across North America. The company say it will try to relocate affected workers to other branches, and those who can't be reassigned will be offered a severance package. Starbucks says the changes are designed to make the company leaner and more competitive. But for some employees and communities, the cuts could be tough to swallow. Joy Tabanao, your global citizen correspondent reporting for Newsline World.
Big changes in Philippine government spending. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has announced that nearly 36 billion pesos cut from the Department of Public Works and Highways flood control budget will instead go to the Department of Social Welfare and Development. The president says the funds will be used to expand social aid for millions of Filipinos. Cresilyn Catarong has more.
The Department of Public Works and Highways, or DPWH, recently trimmed its proposed 2026 budget by almost 30% from 881 billion pesos, leading to major cuts in flood control projects. On Friday, President Marcos confirmed that 36 billion pesos from those savings will be reallocated to the DSWD. He made the announcement during the Kumustahan kasama ang Huwarang Pantawid Pamilya gathering at Malacanang, part of the National Family Week celebration.
kinalulugod ko ibahagi sa inyo ang halos 36 na bilyong piso na pondo galing sa DPWH na nakuha natin sa flood control project. Itong halagang ito ay ilalaan natin sa mga programa ng DSWD.
Among the beneficiaries of the new funding, the Assistance to Individuals in Crisis Situations or AICS and the Sustainable Livelihood Program.
Dahil sa karagdagang pondo ng AICS program, dadami ang ating mga kababayan na matutulungan sa panahon ng emergency tulad ng madaliang operasyon, pambili ng maintenance o gamot, at iba pang mga gastos para sa pagpapagaling.
The President also stressed the importance of strengthening the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino Program or 4Ps. He acknowledged families' fears that government support may end before they're ready and vowed to push for amendments to the 4Ps law to ensure beneficiaries are prepared for self-sufficiency.
Batid ko rin ang pangamba ng maraming pamilya na biglang matapos na lang ang suporta hatid ng 4Ps nang hindi sila nabibigyan ng sapat na kakayahan. Kaya't pinag-aaralan natin ang pag-aamyenda ng 4Ps Act upang mas matugunan ng wasto ang sitwasyon ng ating mga benepisyaryo.
Marcos Jr. added that the government will also boost support for former combatants under the Payapa at Masaganang Pamayanan or PAMANA program to help them reintegrate into their communities. Meanwhile, 18 model families from across the country were honored at the palace as this year's Huwarang Pantawid Pamilya awardees. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Cresceling Catarong, SMNI News.
In sports, Barcelona came from behind to sink Real Oviedo, avoiding a shock defeat and keeping their unbeaten run in La Liga intact. Meanwhile, the Los Angeles Lakers are leaving the future of LeBron James in his own hands, but made sure Coach J.J. Redick will be sticking around. This report.
A packed Carlos Tartiere Stadium witnessed Oviedo take a shock lead when Alberto Reina capitalized on a poor clearance from keeper Joan Garcia. It was also a milestone night for 40-year-old Santi Cazorla, who made his first La Liga start for his boyhood club. Barca, however, turned it around after the break. Eric Garcia leveled the score, Robert Lewandowski edged them in front with a deft header, and Ronald Araujo sealed the comeback with a powerful strike-off on Marcus Rashford corner. Barcelona stayed unbeaten and close within 2 points of leaders Real Madrid, while Oviedo remained stuck in the relegation zone with just 3 points from 6 games. Meanwhile, Lakers GM Rob Pelinka confirmed James is entering his 23rd NBA season in a contract year after picking up a $52.6 million option for 2025 to 2026. While speculation swirls about how much longer the 40-year-old star will play, Pelinka said the team will respect LeBron's decision on his career path. In contrast, the Lakers showed certainty with head coach J.J. Redick, handing him a multi-year extension after a 50-win debut season and a number 3 seed in the West. Pelinka praised Redick as a special coach, shaping the franchise's culture. Redick, grateful for the rare extension as a first-time coach, said he's focused on maximizing James and Luka Doncic this season, while leaving lineup questions open heading into training camp. The Lakers tip off camp next week with LeBron's future undecided, but Redick's role firmly secured. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Carlo Dela Peña bringing you the latest sports news.
A toy company is giving hope and comfort to children facing serious illnesses by donating 10,000 Brave Barbie and Brave Ken dolls each year, helping young patients see strength and beauty in themselves during difficult times. Cherilyn Lanillo for the story.
Tens of thousands of children around the world will soon find encouragement in the form of dolls that reflect their journey. Mattel, a toy company, announced Wednesday that it is expanding its Brave doll collection and donating them to children who have lost their hair due to conditions such as cancer or autoimmune diseases. This September, in honor of Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, the toy company is introducing a second Brave Barbie in a new skin tone and unveiling its very first Brave Ken doll. Both dolls feature stylish outfits and special accessories, including rooted wigs, hats, headbands, and customizable stickers, giving kids the ability to personalize their play experience. Mattel's initiative isn't about sales. The dolls won't be available for purchase. Instead, they will be distributed through partnerships with children's hospitals and global nonprofits, including Ronald McDonald House Charities, Starlight Children's Foundation, Cure Search for Children's Cancer, and Save the Children. The donations will reach families through hospitals and advocacy groups such as Children's Hospital Association, American Cancer Society California, National Alopecia Areata Foundation, and Radis Children's Hospital, among others. Mattel says its goal is simple: to remind every child who receives a Brave doll that they are brave, strong, and beautiful. Charlene Anilio, your citizen correspondent, reporting for Newsline World.
And before we end, may you be inspired with the words of the sun. It is up to our own freedom of choice to follow His will or to fall away. And as we keep track of the countdown, there's only 90 days left before Christmas. And that's all for this edition of Newsline World. For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, I'm Carlo Dela Peña. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.
This is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.